I mentioned in our last lesson that one of the key principles of the simple interest is that the amount of interest that you earn every year stays the same, and it's based on the initial investment and the simple interest rate. I created this simple interest calculator, and I'll make it available to you to use, but it has the principal, the rate of interest, and the time in years, and we can adjust these values. So I can change this principal. So instead of the initial investment being $1,000, I can make it $2,000, and perhaps I'll set this at a 4% interest rate. And if you look at the calculator down here, it shows you every year what the amount of money you had at the start of the year was, and what the amount of interest you earn is, and then the value of that money at the end of the year. And I've also got a column for total interest earned. And you can see that one of the key concepts of simple interest is that no matter what I set these two values at, so I could change this to 1,500, and perhaps I'll change this to maybe a 2.5% interest rate. You can see that the interest earned is always the same for every year. So in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, the interest that you earn doesn't change. It's always based on this calculation of the initial investment times the interest rate as a decimal. Now, let's look at compound interest. So I have a compound interest calculator, and this assumes that the interest is compounded annually. This may not mean much to you now, but we'll talk about this in more detail in 1.3. So my compound interest calculator has the same values of principal, rate of interest, and time. And let me make them exactly the same as I did over here. So let's see. So 1,500 and a 2.5 interest rate for 10 years. Now, for simple interest, the interest earned in year 1 was $37.50, and that stayed the same. This part is yellow here because it just highlights whatever I put for the time in years, by the way. If I change this to 15 on the calculator, it'll highlight the values on year 15. It doesn't actually change the calculations, though. So this interest stays the same. It's the exact same as it is in year 1. You earn the same amount every year. But note that in compound interest, you earn $37.50 in year 1, but then that increases, and it continues to increase every year. So how are these calculated? Well, what's happening is in year 1, we earned $37.50 of interest. So that means our total at the end of year 1 is $1,537.50. And then in year 2, instead of the interest earned being based on the amount of money that was there in year 1, it's based on how much money you have in total. So this interest is based on the year 2 value times the interest rate to get $38.44. And then the amount of interest that you earn in year 3 is based on the year 3 value times the interest rate. So what's happening every year, and again, I can change these values around. Perhaps I'll change them to more standard values to make it a little more clear, is when you earn interest, that interest is reinvested, and then you start earning interest not only on the initial investment, but on the interest that you earn as time goes on. So sometimes you'll hear that for compound interest, you earn interest on your interest, which is true. Any money that you make gets immediately reinvested, and you earn additional interest based on the total amount of money that you have at any point in time. Whereas with simple interest, the interest that you earn year per year is always based on the initial amount of money that you invested. Whatever you invest in year one dictates exactly how much interest you earn every year. I have these two things graphed as well. You'll note that you're probably not familiar with this formula, and I use Y's and X's instead of A and T. But if you look at the graph over here, so for an initial investment of $2,000, and I've got an interest rate of 0.035, so 3.5%, this red bar indicates my simple interest. And you note that this is constant. This is a straight line because we earn the exact same amount of interest every year. But with our compound interest, this grows exponentially because we continually reinvest the interest and then we earn interest on that interest. So this money just keeps getting larger and larger every year. And if I adjust these values, if I adjust the interest rates, what's just happening is this just adjusts how quickly this compound interest grows, and it also adjusts what the initial value is over here on the left-hand side. Whereas for the simple interest, this rate of growth is always constant because the amount of interest you're earning every year stays the same. So this is just highlighting the difference between simple interest and compound interest. Compound interest grows exponentially because your money continually gets reinvested. And in the next chapter, or in the next lesson, we will look at compound interest in a lot more detail.